Hi, Sven here. Whenever I have an idea or a thought or a task comes to mind, I don't just want to jot it down, I also want to add it right here to my to-do list. I use Trello to manage my tasks for my task management. How I do this with the different columns backlog, to do this week, waiting done, and so on. I've already written about that in a blog. If you're interested in that and maybe want to learn a productivity method like this, you can read through that blog post. What I want to show here is, well, normally I just create a new card. That's pretty easy to do on a smartphone. I just type it in and then this new card ends up here in the inbox column. However, that's not always possible and I don't always want to, especially if it's a longer text, painstakingly type everything out. Instead, I'd much rather just speak it into the phone and have the card created automatically. And that's exactly what I've done in this video. That means if you follow me to the end of this video, you'll see first how I manage the recording, how I send the information to make, and finally how I create a Trello card here in my task list, which even has the correct label. I'm Sven, I'm an entrepreneur, and I've been working with quality and process optimization for over 30 years. And not just in a professional setting, but in all areas of life. And almost everything I know and can do today, I learned through trial and error and simply through experience. And I know what really works. In my videos, I want to show you how you can also use process automation and AI profitably in your business. So let's get started. So how do I actually do this? First, I need a tool that allows me to record these audio clips and send them to Make. And that's where I found the form system Fillout. And Fillout is capable of doing exactly that, creating a form, just like you might know from Google Forms, Microsoft Forms, or other tools that let you create such queries. And the cool thing about Fillout is that in addition to the usual fields like short answer, multiple choice, and all the other options, it also has a voice recording function. And I've already added that here. That's also the only feature I want to have in this form. I want to open the form, record my text, and then create a task for it in Make, or rather create a task for it in Trello via Make. So how do I do that? In Make, there's the Fillout module. It only has a single function. That function is watch new responses, and it's an instant function. That means it has a webhook. And when you configure this thing here, you get a webhook, and behind this webhook is the connection to Fillout. And once you have the connection to Fillout, you'll get a list of the forms you've created there. And the responses from the forms, I've already run this once, so you can see it here are basically the answers right here. And then I only ask this one question: what is the task? Here, the result is your URL, but also the MP3 file of this recording and the information that it is 9 seconds long. And if there are more questions and answers in the form, then they will appear here under this answers heading. So what do I do with it then? First, I download the thing. That means I simply use HTTP here to download the audio file from this answer via the URL. Then I transcribe it with ChatGPT, and I don't have to enter any commands or anything. No prompt, just select the Whisper model, and then the corresponding text comes out at the end. Right? Then I'll just skip this part for now. And then I go into Trello and use create a card to add a card to my Trello board. And there I select the list. So to do demo, that's what we just saw in the column. Or here it's called a list in the list inbox. I'll get to that in a moment as well. And then I create the card with the title Idea Collector. And then I format the date with the current date and time. And in the description, the transcribed text from the audio file is then added. And I also attach this audio file to the card in case I might need it for some other purpose. Yes. And then I have this special feature here, which you can see in between. In Trello, there are these so-called labels. With the labels, I can categorize cards, for example. And when I edit a card here and go to the labels, there's a wide selection of different labels, which you can also create yourself. And these relevant labels will prominently appear here within Make, specifically when creating a new card in the designated labels field. I just need to quickly copy this out, because if I turn off the mapping here, these labels are displayed to me, and I don't want to select them manually. I want to set them automatically. So I'll just paste it back in. And for this, I built these remaining functions, and they do the following. There is a Trello function here called list labels, and it returns all the labels that I have on a particular board. And if I have 100 of them here, then I would have to change the limit. And then I get all these bundles with these labels, and I aggregate them into an array. And this array always contains the label ID and the name of the label, because this label ID is exactly what I need to set it later on. Well, so how do I manage to figure that out? I go into this function from JGBT that I built, and there I simply wrote a very basic prompt. You receive a text from the user, you analyze the text, and determine which of the categories listed below the text fits best. Respond only with the appropriate category, no further information. So I just give it the transcribed text from earlier and the categories. And since I can't pass an array here, I simply took the array I created and combined these labels into one long text. That means I go over the labels again here and add them to a text, each on a new line and with a dash in front of each one. And basically it just looks like this. I have all these labels in a list, and then, well, I don't want to add anything here, but I want to go in here and use the function I built to extract this ID from the array. So what I do is map this array, which contains the label Idaho and name. I search for the ID, filter by the name, and the name is then the result of this function. In this case, for example, it was strategy. And in this way, I'm able to automatically assign the label to the correct category. Of course, in Trello, you can assign multiple categories to a card, but I consistently only assign one. That's why I built it this way for myself. You would just have to change the prompt and then provide a corresponding list of label IDs, which would be possible, for example, in a JSON document. All right, let's try the whole thing out. That means I'll let this thing run now and go back in here again. And if I click on share here, I can also go directly via this link. And of course, I could integrate this link somewhere else as well. I'll show you in a moment how I set this up on my smartphone. And then I'll open this page. So, and then I just click on record here. We absolutely have to remember to start the project with client XY next week and to create a detailed project plan for it. I click on done, then I click on submit, and now the whole thing has been sent to make. The data has now come in here and has been processed. This is probably the URL here. Exactly. Then we downloaded it, then we transcribed it. This is the corresponding text. Then the labels were determined. It is assigned to the project label, and then the card is created. Yes, and there's the entry already. Idea collector, the text, the attached document, and done. And the cool thing about it is that regardless of which task management system I use, I can send this result that comes out of the transcription anywhere. That means it doesn't have to be Trello. It can be any task management system. Yeah, give it a try. It works pretty cool. I think it's great, and it really helps me in my daily work. But now I have a little extra for you. If you want to access all of this in your browser, you can do that. And that means you can also use it on your phone. So I'll just enter it here. That's the address pickup filler. Tasks. And then, of course, it will be displayed here in exactly the same way. And if I now click on record here, whatever I say will naturally be recorded. And with a click on done and submit, it will be sent as well. And of course, it works exactly the same way here in the browser. And now, I don't know if you know this, but if you go into the menu on your phone is an Android, I'm not sure how it works on Apple then. I can click on add to home screen here. And if I do that, I'll get an icon on the home screen. That means I can start this data entry directly with a single tap on my phone's display. And of course, that makes it super easy. One click, record, send, done. If you liked it, leave me a like. I'm already looking forward to the next video. Bye.